RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. We are live for a midday live stream, the People's Talk Show. Excited to connect and looking forward to finding out what's on your radar. Lots of things worth touching on, as well as some information that is not mainstream, but yet definitely worth bringing to your attention and letting you guys sort it out and see if it makes sense as to what's really happening with the whole Russian Ukrainian situation there. So, anyway, hope everyone's doing well. As always, any first time viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from via the chat. Then when the phone lines open up, I would love to hear from you guys directly. 313-462-0027 is the number to call and let your voice be heard. And if you don't mind, since you're here, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Make sure you click on the bell, so hopefully you'll be notified so you can join us when we go live. And so let's jump right in. I'll do acknowledge a couple people, and then we will definitely jump in. Let me see. We got Bobby Seals 007 checking in. Said, I wish the #1 talk show in Detroit would broadcast a later time than 3 Central. I apologize, Bobby. Beyond just connecting with the community, I try to have somewhat of a life beyond this. So, family commitments and things like that make it somewhat of a challenge. But we'll do the best we can. We got Tom checking in. We got Rolf checking in. We got JoJo checking in. We got Faith Parent checking in. Toshiba. We got Martinez Country Home checking in from San Antonio. How you doing? Appreciate you for joining. Jim Diggs. Let me see. LT Flying is up in the building. Okay, so a fair amount of people here. As always, I appreciate you for blessing me with your presence. And so let's dive in further. So here we are. What looks like, 48 hours since the initial moving into the Ukrainian region, and things have spread rather quickly. And so from just basically the Putin giving the Donetsk as well as Lugansk, region, their statehood, he's gone well beyond that. And of course, the narrative, from the West is tainted and slanted. So you can't expect truth from the Western media. And then on the Eastern side of things, I've watched a lot of Al Jazeera, a lot of RT today to try to get a pulse as to what stories would allow me to have something in the middle to believe. I believe neither one of it. I don't believe none of it. But it is what it is. It's all we have, unless somebody on the ground there directly want to report for RTD News. Definitely would love that. But anyway, so we can't believe the West. We can't believe the East. But who can we believe? Let's just look at what we're not being told. But none of the stories from the left and right is adding up, because the invasion, as we're being told, of course, the mainstream narrative is the invasion. All global powers around the world are focusing on the invasion. Is there more to this event than just aggression by Russia into Ukraine? Of course there is. What exactly are they looking to do? Nobody truly knows. But like always, all prior events that dealt with military conflicts always led, they were main story on a subject matter, and then what really went on underneath is what we never heard until after the fact. But as always, as I was mentioned, one of the community members shared a possible scenario as to why there's been so many military episodes further within Ukraine, and it has a lot to do with assets, Western assets that I guess Putin and his people feel is more of a threat than actually just being, just actually attacking Ukraine, as if Ukraine is a nation that, poses a real threat to Russia. And on top of that, consider the fact that since 2014, under the Obama regime, when they went in there, of course, John Kerry was it, not John Kerry, but what's the guy's name? One of the, I can't, Jim Carrey? No, Kerry. Was it Kerry? No, can't think of his name, but went in there taking photo ops or whatnot in Ukraine. Of course, Hunter Biden, the big boss man, got connections with Ukraine. So Ukraine has been used as a geographical tool to funnel currency, all type of illegal activity out of there. It's unfortunate that the West has used Ukraine as its puppet, as its tool, as its, I can't even give it a word, but you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, on top of all the other events inside of Ukraine that we don't know nothing about, dealing with the east side and the west side and all stuff like that. But okay, keep it moving right along. So as I want to start off I want to preface all this by saying that there is always more to the story than what we're being told. And so let me just, bring it back home and share with you that, there are no innocent parties in any of this. everything we're experiencing is being done intentionally, and it's well calculated and well thought out. There are no innocent parties in none of this. The West, the East, never believe the mainstream news, never believe somebody who reads off a teleprompter because they're reading a script presented to them by somebody who's controlling them on the back end. So let me just, verify this just so I can, come out clean with it. Putin, in my opinion, is working along with the World Economic Forum and all the other entities that are at work right now to pull off this transition out of the old Bretton Woods dollar dominating world order and usher us into whatever version of what they're trying to do. So, here's enough evidence, in my opinion, where these handshakes are not just for fun. Whenever they shake hands, they usually are talking about something or get into agreement on something. So Russia is just as involved in all of this as everybody else. Only thing is I haven't heard Russia talking about building back better. But them handshakes are just not for fun. And then, and also, a lot of stuff comes from information shared with me. So I appreciate the community members for bringing it to my attention, of course. And then, just to let you guys know that Russia has joined the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution Network. So, once again, Russia, they know what's going on. Putin know what's going on. Now it's a matter of, I guess, giving us the illusion that there's an East-West conflict, good guy, bad guy, and all the stuff in between to make us think like this is a genuine movement taking place right now, when in actuality it's all about moving away from the dollar, the Federal Reserve System, in my opinion, and entering into some other structure that they want to have up. So I thought I would get that out of the way. Just to let you know, Klaus Schwab and Putin, I'm sure they've had several conversations over the years and orchestrating all of this as it's going on because they're a part of this transition. Okay, cool. Now, let's keep moving right along. Here is something that I want to bring to your attention that was shared with me on Twitter, and I think it's worth just bringing it to your attention. So here is some information as to what's happening. So this is from Walter Bloomberg, as it says here. And it says, Russian Defense Ministry says Russian military destroyed 83 Ukrainian land-based targets. Says Russian Defense Ministry says it achieved all its goals for Thursday. So Thursday's done. Chalk it up in the books. But 83 Ukrainian land-based targets. How in the world do we go from freeing two regions on the east and I guess pushing back against Ukrainian forces that were trying to encroach upon those two regions now that are considered Russian territory or whatever you want to call it, to going into Ukraine and bombing 83 land-based targets? So once again, that lets me know this is a strategically done event where those targets were already predetermined for some particular reason. What's the reason? I don't know. We'll never hear about it on the surface. You got to go dive deep. And this is where we get into the far left field. Put your tinfoil hat on. I want to make sure I put this out here. None of this is verifiable. This is information passed on to me that I thought I would share with you because it's entertaining, to say the least, to try to help things make sense. But for those who may not be familiar, we can put the tinfoil hat on sometimes, and we can go far left field and just talk about what could be. And hopefully I'm wrong, but yet, in time we'll find out. So here's something that was brought to my attention from a blog. Now, once again, this is not accredited, verifiable information, but this is just something worth thinking about. And I'll just read some of the headlines. It says, the secret U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. So just that right there, if that is true, lets us know that these are some targets that definitely could pose a threat towards the Russian Federation. Just saying that. So give you an idea, it says here, on April 23rd, U.S. Embassy in Ukraine acknowledged that there are biological laboratories in Ukraine that are under the control of the Pentagon. Okay, take for what it's worth. Says a statement of diplomats came after an open letter from the people's deputies about the threats posed by research centers to the Ukrainians. However, the Americans deny the threat and say that the scientific work is being carried out for exclusively peaceful purposes, and talks of threats is written off as Russian disinformation. So, putting all the pieces together, the U.S. has assets in Ukraine used for whatever purpose, and I assume that part of these targets for today and probably future targets will be focused on not necessarily, bombing the Ukrainians back to the Stone Age, but probably more so looking forward to trying to isolate or alleviate those U.S. targets that are probably pose a threat. We'll see. And of course, those labs and targets definitely carry with them some concerns, because when you talk about biological laboratories, we're currently experiencing within the last 2 years something to do with biological weaponry, and what we're talking about here. The big C word is what I'm talking about. So that would be of concern, because if it's if it's by the U.S. in that region close to Russia, that could definitely cause some problems. So I personally, if there was somebody in my backyard setting up shop, doing some stuff that can hurt me and mine, I probably would want to address that as well. Anyway, and of course, there's more here. If anybody's interested in reading it, I'm not going to put this in the chat here just because I won't be floating around some information that I don't know. I can't verify none of this, but if you want some entertainment, some reading, do your best with it. I'll put it in the Discord as well as in the Telegram under general information. So if anybody wants it, you can go there. I encourage you, as always, join the Discord so you can stay connected with us and be plugged in at all times, and share with me stories as it comes across your radar. So it's in a general tab, and it'll be in the Telegram if you guys want to dive further. But just to go a little bit deeper, here's some visual aids that helps probably better break down some of those 83 targets that was done today. So for those coming in, I'm talking about how there's more to the story than what we're being told. Never trust the West or East mainstream media, because they just tell us what we want to hear, not what's really going on. So take it from what you want. But here's some information here. It says matching biolab locations, military installations with a question mark. So once again, take it for what it's worth. But it said explosions reported in these areas. So around these dots here, these different regions is places that were targeted throughout today's bombardment, militarily speaking. And then here on this map here, it says U.S. biolabs in the Ukraine. So once again, it's information passed through blogosphere. Take of it what you may, but just bring it to your attention. But it says exclusive U.S. biolabs in Ukraine, and they are financed at the expense of, I'll let you guys read that bottom statement there. It says the laboratories are located in all of these regions here. And so you factor in, if these locations are really controlled by the U.S. in these regions, it would help explain as to why Russia, from Belarus, from Russia, from land, from sea, from water, why, according to the mainstream media, it makes it appear as if they're attacking the entire country, because perhaps they are literally targeting these certain areas to take them out for their own benefit, as far as trying to to try to dial back from the Russian aggression and things like that. So, or the Westerns and pushing into Ukraine, using Ukraine basically as a playground. That's what it basically boils down to. So just something to throw out there. Take from it what you may, and let's keep moving. And just to really put some icing on the cake, can somebody help me understand how Biden has been presented with options for a massive cyber attack against Russia? Like, I can't even fathom. Like, we go from sanctions, which in the video earlier I showed you just are pointless, but then to throw at them what they are supposedly doing to us. And so the first thing that went off in my mind is that since cyber attacks is such a big topic, because it's a part of, let me just bring this back up here, because it's a part of what the guy, shaking hands here, Professor Schwab, and this is him and Putin shaking hands on several occasions. So it's good to say that the cyber attack is the primary thing that they're going to be using moving forward, because Klaus Schwab in his video talked about a cyber, or a cyber attack pandemic, or so. I think that's how it was. I think cyber attack pandemic or cyber attack. He used those two words together in the same sentence in his little spiel, where he was talking about, it's gonna be so dangerous, and so, what I'm talking about. But once again, first thing I thought about was, wow. So you mean to tell me if the U.S. has the capabilities, as it says here, let me read a little bit to you, Says President Joe Biden has been presented with a menu of options for the U.S. to carry out massive cyber attacks designed to disrupt Russia's ability to sustain its military operations in Ukraine. 4 people familiar with the deliberations tells NBC. Says 2 intelligence officials, 1 Western intelligence official, and another person briefed on the matter say that no final decisions have been made, but they say the U.S. intelligence and military cyber warriors are proposing the use of American cyber weapons. So you mean to tell me all this that's been going on in the world in the last several months, from the oil pipeline to all these companies being, bothered with, the school districts being knocked out, and all this disruption, and not at one point has anybody really questioned American cyber weapons, other than people in the alternative media sphere, I must add. But yet, once again, we're always talking about Russia, 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 but to me, it just more so highlights the fact that if America has a cyber weapons program, which we clearly do, and they're willing to use it against Russia in the worst case scenario, what will keep that same group of individuals, whether it be, the Five Eyes, the, NSA, any of those, acronyms that's, thrown out there, what will keep them from using that against the American people or the rest of the world? So it just makes me that much more suspicious at the fact that if the U.S. has the capabilities, which we already knew they did, and they're willing to use it against Russia, while Russia has always been the big bad wolf that's destroying the world, it just makes it that much more likelier to me that our own will use it against their own, just because it fits the narrative of the agenda, and all the exercises and drills that's been done up to this point points to some type of cyber event. So it's just like, wow, like, how could that even be an option? Like, you would at least keep that behind closed doors, because it's good to say, I really don't think, Russia is just sitting around with their wide open servers. And I would imagine their cyber defense is pretty severe, given the fact that, I'm still of the mindset that their technology is definitely, up there in comparison to the West, apart from the stuff we don't know, i.e. Area 51 and, Antarctica and stuff like that. I mean, there's some they're definitely holding on to some things. But it says here, just close this up and I'll open the phone lines. It says, amongst the options, disrupting internet connectivity across Russia, shutting off the electric power, and tampering with railroad switches to hamper Russia's ability to resupply its forces. 3 sources said. So we got cutting off the internet, shutting the power grid, and hindering their railroads from being able to restock the troops. Now, those 3 scenarios that they are talking about are options for Russia. Those options are definitely something that we can probably get an idea as to what's possible or probable here in the U.S. at some time in the future, given all the circumstances, because as I start off by saying, they're all in this together. Every single government on the planet know what and how they're trying to execute this unified game plan of ushering in, as I always say, the 4th industrial revolution. And so if the 4th industrial revolution is the goal, there's steps that they're taking to get us to that point, and they're all in on it. So it's just amazing to me that that stuff can make the headline news, and not many people really question it, call it out, or whatever. But anyway, I can go on and on, but I'm not. Let's talk. Phone lines are open. Give me a call. What's on your radar? Once again, this is just trying to dissect everything as it's happening, as it's unfolding, because the more we question things and gather bits and pieces from here and there and put it together, it starts to make sense in a way. All right, let's keep it moving. JM Cart, appreciate you, man. It says ISP. It says Ukraine hasn't filed for sovereignty since 2014. That definitely could be the case. It's just unfortunate that Ukraine is a nation. I think how many ever million Ukrainians, they were being used by the West for a very dark and nefarious agenda. But it's unfortunate what's happening over there. So definitely need to lift them up in prayer, because a lot of them are victims of stuff that they know nothing even about. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Mike, what's going on, man? It's Karan from Chicago.
Karan, what's going on, my man? Give me a quick thought.
Mike, man, we talked about this, a couple weeks back, man. We knew it was coming. The day was going to happen where, the Russia did this, man. Mm-hmm. It just led up to this. They passed their cryptocurrency. Well, I'm sorry, cryptocurrency. They passed their Bitcoin bill. They start mining it, and now they have.
Whoa, 1 second. But just according to the news that I've seen, it hasn't been officially passed yet. They're making it appear like the central bank don't want it, but then the financial sector do. So they're making it seem as if they're going back and forth. So they're playing that it's still in the works. So, but okay, go ahead. According to what we're being told.
You mean as far as making the currency?
Or as far as legalizing digital assets for the people in Russia.
Okay. Well, it's on the table.
Right.
So I tell you what, a lot of things on the table. When they start saying things on the table, like Biden said, they might attack. Things that a lot of times politicians, they say things might happen. It seems like a brief preview for what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's very interesting that he has the audacity that he didn't have before. All these years, all this time before, he didn't think like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I know you think about, back in the day, he was an agent. He was a CDR agent or BBR agent. So he grew up under the Soviet Union. So he wants to put the Soviet Union back together.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Bitcoin comes out, this new asset class comes out.
Mm-hmm.
He sees the ways that he can't be sanctioned, and now he starts to make these moves. So it's just very interesting how he's making that. So I say this:
right,
we still early.
Mm-hmm.
We have a choice. I want to stay on top. We have to adopt the Bitcoin standard right away. It's not a drill.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. So that's my thoughts, man.
Hey, man.
What you think about that, Mike?
Anything's possible, and of course, right beyond the price action, that's not as important as the actual use case and the fact that Bitcoin in particular, the markets were not looking pretty last couple of nights. But yet, once again, that's more of a scare tactic, I think, to just shake out weak hands. And of course, the institutions, if it's meant to be, the institutions are getting in. And I don't think it's going to be that next, off to the moon type of atmosphere until we find out whether or not the Federal Reserve is going to stick to their guns or choose to let inflation just continue to be the primary driving force and them not decide to taper and dial back. So unless there's some fresh injection of currency created, I don't really see the crypto space running as much, because I would assume that the old money, all that old money out there going to be running to something in the form of metals just for pure insurance sake, not necessarily about profiting, but just pure protection sake. And then they'll probably put a little something on the crypto space as well. But unless we get fresh currency, I don't see crypto racing, but I do see gold and silver continue to do what it always has done, which is to remain stable in uncertain times, regardless of ups and downs, $1 here, $2 there, whatever. That's minor. People with big bread, they just want possession. You know what I'm saying? So cryptos will rally, of course, whenever we get some fresh currency. So get your bags up, do what you got to do. It's all going to the moon, because the currency is coming in creation will be damn near quadrillion probably at the end of the day. So, but once again, what type of world will we be in? That's always my point. What type of world will we be in? What will be on the shelves when it's time to go spend some of that stuff? So
I agree, man. But inflation's coming. They're gonna print the money. Printers don't brr. They're gonna start printing money again. They have no choice. Their choice now. But Mike, man, I appreciate you, man.
Yes,
I'll tune back in.
We'll
talk about it again, man.
All right, be good.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Appreciate the call. Yeah, give me a call, man. Let's talk. What's in your mind? What's in your radar out there? What else in regards to this narrative that we're being sold doesn't add up? Feel free to let me know. Just because it's interesting to see all these pieces come together, where at the same time, I would say not all, but confidence and trust in political leaders is gone. So for example, Canada, they decided to dial back on the Emergencies Act. And apparently there was a lot of pressure on the commercial banks as far as people deciding to go down and withdraw what they think is theirs. And so that could be a reason why they just said, hey, let's chop this. Let's try to go back to normal, because we need this illusion that things are stable and calm while we deal with this situation over in the Middle East by sanctioning the world and trying to make it appear as if, they can sanction Russia in a sense that will make it really worth, I guess, making it appear that they're doing something for the benefit of the people over there. But anyway, so my point is, these events that are unfolding right now, it's hard to read as to whether or not, the orchestrators of this, they're losing control in certain pockets over here and over there. Or, once again, does it still fit into the narrative of destruction at all costs? Because the goal is to bring everything down to its bare knuckles, so that they can come in with their solution of building back better, all heading towards what they are all working towards, which is, as I keep putting up on the screen here, they're all working towards the fourth industrial revolution. So no matter whose hands you're shaking, they all know the agenda. And so, yeah. Anyway, let's keep moving. Feel free to give me a call or a highlight at Rethinking a Dollar. We'll jump on it. Pipeline hack was horrible. Red herring. Who's smart enough to hack the pipeline and ask for Bitcoin instead of a privacy coin? Easy way to get caught. Huh, Jay, good point there. And of course, when all these local hacks here in the US, the ransom was always asked for in Bitcoin, as if like any true heist would take place with a publicly visible ledger or an open bank account and expect to really get away with it. But nah, it's all theater. They're trying to sell us one thing to have us look over here while doing something completely different over here. Crypto Side says sanctions on Russia equal Russian cyber attack on our food, power, and electric grids. Crypto Side, that's a possibility, but once again, I think we're talking about Russian cyber attack as if like Russia, it benefits them to attack us rather than benefits the West to use Russia as an excuse for what might be in the works. And mind you, just the article itself today in reference to Biden's advisors telling him that we have the capabilities of pulling off a cyber attack against Russia. My first suspect in the fact that I don't really have confidence in, the powers that be in this country here, I would automatically assume that's what they've been using within the U.S. as well as other parts around the world to pull off these heists and then blame them on Russia. Because mind you, it's the world versus Russia. It's NATO versus Russia. That's been the way for the last 50 years, give or take. And so this has always been a part of their diversion tactic to create a narrative that they want people to believe, to where, we'll associate cyber attacks with Russia, where, really Russia, in my personal opinion, outside of, Putin working with Klaus Schwab and World Economic Forum, of course, is stated in these articles here. But, China and Russia, man, they're still doing what they got to do. They're still trying to literally move on from the dollar. So once again, the dollar or the Federal Reserve note system has been the primary destruction of wealth around the world. Like it's, the SWIFT system has allowed so much corruption and crime and theft to occur around the world, to where the too big to fail banks get caught in RICO charges, money laundering, drug possession, funding, all types of things I can't even say online, and they get little slaps on the wrist, and they all using the SWIFT system to do it. So it's like, I would imagine at some point you would get tired of just being abused, being manipulated, just being bamboozled, basically. That they've bamboozled the world with these mechanisms. And so it's just a matter of time before every good thing comes to an end. And that's why I always said that this instrument here has done more harm to us than anybody, even though it's benefited us because it's allowed us to be able to live such great lives in this country because of the reserve status, but yet it can't last forever. And I think a lot of this distraction, all this West, East, bombs, whatever, it's all designed to give us an excuse as to why the world structure is already changing and the reset is underway, because they need the ultimate excuse to go down in the history books written by them that this event happened because this dictator did this, and then we had to come in and save the world by, what I'm saying? Like, mind you, the history books that's been given to us, they're all lies, because, the people who wrote them are the same people in academia that's a part of these special societies and all these groups and all these, dark and dirty world order groups, that they're the ones that, write the history book. So they only are incentivized to tell us what they want us to read about, which benefits them, not us. So, it's just amazing how at this current moment, all hell's hitting the fan and more people are waking up to the fact that they've been lied to. And all this is just, to them a game, but to us is real life. And that's why it bothers me, because, at some point you realize that you'll find no truth in the real world. And that's where I get into the spiritual essence of things, because we were told what type of things to expect as we get closer to what has always been end times. But, it just now more than ever appears more to be like, the possibility of something that can really be considered end time type events, rumors of wars and famines and pestilence and all that good stuff like that, which always has been here. But it just feels like this decade might be a year that we can really say it was really here. So I'm ranting as always. Forgive me, but I'm enjoying it. Anyway, let's keep it moving. TB says all books are lies or man's perspective of what he thinks at that time. That could be the truth, man. That could be the truth. Biotech labs. Get a hold of the president to sing a song. Okay. Anyway, it's the depopulation. Okay, yeah. Anyway, it's depopulation agenda if there's a messing with the power in dead winter. Yeah, that is definitely, and that's where I imagine by now we all can realize that when it comes to executing a coordinated event to the magnitude of what they've planned with this fourth industrial revolution, there's no amount of lives or no amount. There's nothing that they'll be willing to do or not do to execute their agenda, and that includes how they treat and how they respond to humanity in general. Because if they're willing to roll out an experimental situation as a part of their agenda to depopulate, and I wonder, like, all those people that are a part of that pyramid of power that I show all the time, I wonder, do those same individuals, do they allow their closest loved ones to participate? Or do they have a little bit of, like, love for their own, to where they'll not allow their own to participate in this experiment? So just for those that may not be familiar with what I'm talking about, let me just go ahead and pull this up here real quick here, because I refer to this as the pyramid of power, where we talk about all the different layers of society. And of course, at the very bottom are the people who solely depend upon fiat debt instruments, right on up to the next tier, which happens to be the government structure, the religion structures, the education, the media, which are all been compromised and funded by the big tech and all these banking institutions, the too big to fail banks, the energy sector, you name it, right on up to the World Financial Control, where a small list of individuals, entities, IMF, World Bank, Bank of International Settlements, and those three weapons there have been used to control the entire reserve currency structure. And then on up to the think tanks, the Round Table, Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, Vatican, Council of Foreign Relations, and such and such and such, all the way up to that I that's located on the back of the Federal Reserve note, in my opinion, symbolizing the powers and principalities that be in high and wicked places. We know who that individual is. So anyway, that's just me ranting. But anyway, lots of things unfolding. And I see a lot of alternative media gentlemen covering, the invasion. But I just wanted to bring to you a different argument as to something that, until more information is given, we may not really hear much about, how the U.S. possibly has secret biolabs in Ukraine. And a part of the Russian aggression was to target these areas that possess these laboratories. And that's why there's been over 83 Ukrainian lab-based targets as of this past Thursday. So those are all things worth keeping an eye on. But we will see, man. But anyway, getting ready to dial back. Not going to take any more calls. I apologize. I wanted to keep this semi-short. But for those that are plugged in, hit the thumbs up button. Show your support for the channel. Best thing I can tell you to do, let's definitely keep the people of Ukraine in our prayers, because most of the people over there have no clue as to what's happening around them or happening to them. They're just literally probably innocent bystanders, your everyday mom and pops that like to get up and go to work and enjoy life. But yet they are the ones that are having their lives readjusted right now in panic and fear. Even they can't even go to the ATM machines, and they're typical investment lives of being able to invest in all the things they normally do. They're not able to do because the Central Bank of Ukraine ceased all activity over there. So if they didn't have cash when they needed it most, they didn't got it. So there's a lot we can learn from these events, and I encourage everybody to definitely keep them in your prayers, and definitely pray for people in positions of power here, because whether we like them or not, it doesn't matter. We have to respect and honor the position and trust that the Lord will put men and women in position of power to make a difference in this day and age, because there's still good that can come from all this, of course. So anyway, the Lord's still on the throne. Let's keep moving. Anyway, I'm tired of ranting. I didn't get too many calls. I apologize. But be blessed, be safe, and we back at it again tomorrow. Tomorrow, Mike and Mario show at noon. So, of course, me and Mario are going to just cover all this and plus some. So make sure you tune in at noon, and I'll see you guys later. Peace. Visit Rethinking the Dollar throughout the day, your place for news on metals, gold, crypto, you name it. Scroll down to the bottom, and you get a chance to see the daily videos, the recommended videos, and more importantly, the 5 reasons to unplug from the monetary matrix, with the first one being the awakening period. Step number 1, test your dollar IQ. 10 simple questions, average is 60%, followed up with the alternative perspective with the monetary reports. Consider becoming a supporter of the Rethinking the Dollar platform via Patreon. Get a chance to hang out off air, as well as additional information that can't be discussed on YouTube. Any support is helpful. With the crackdown on alternative media, the best thing to do is to connect off air. Scroll down to the very bottom. You can find Rethinking the Dollar on Telegram, audio, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, you name it. The most important ones will be the email list, where you can get notified weekly, the Discord page, and make sure you connect on Telegram. And last, don't forget to visit the RTD store, where you can get merchandise as well as additional information and resources. And most importantly, scroll down to the bottom and get your weight up with all the limited edition rounds only available on the RTD store.